Hey y'all, you're listening to the Immersion podcast. Here on the show, we'll learn from guests from all walks of life, exploring the impact of character on the mundane and the extraordinary alike. Thanks for joining. I'm your host, Ben Liu. If you enjoyed today's episode, go share it with a friend. All right, folks. Today I've got with me Dwight Hauser.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I got it right the first time.
Yep.
Yeah. He is a phenomenal guy. I actually met Dwight through my old intern, Bradley from Michigan, and he works over here at Sweet Bloom for a little longer here in Arvada, Colorado. Mountain Yotas is where we are at currently, which is Dwight's business. Dwight, why don't you tell us a little more about Mountain Yotas?
Mountain Yotas builds off-road Toyota 4x4. So we are a full-service shop. We don't do kind of classic mechanic stuff. We don't do a lot of maintenance, but we do a lot of big mods, huge builds. So if you're into off-roading, full adventure rigs, or even you just want wheels, tires, and a simple lift kit for daily driving, that's what we do here.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. And then you guys are also like affiliated with a few other guys within the space as well, like Sherpa, Goat Shocks, so on and so forth as well, yeah?
Yeah, man. We're part of the Sherpa Motorsports race team, so they compete in the Ultra 4 racing circuit in the 4600 class, which is technically a stock class, but there's some funny things about that being a stock class because it was created to showcase like consumer level products, but everybody in the 4600 class just pushes the envelope so far beyond what like a consumer would do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but yeah, you can't do forced induction if the model didn't come with a forced induction from the factory. You can't do certain things with suspension. So it's very limited, and running a Toyota in that class is kind of tricky. So
interesting. Even with Toyota having their TRD line and all that?
Yeah, I mean, certain models of Toyotas came with a supercharger option from the factory, but like a 4th gen 4Runner, which is what we're running, it didn't come with that. So we can't do forced induction on our truck. But we can do portals, which is the next level, just total game changer. Portals are essentially like a gearbox that goes on your hubs, gives you like between a 22 and 38% gear reduction, depending on how you tune it or depending on which ones you go with. And about 5 inches more ground clearance and a huge gear reduction at the hub. So everybody on Broncos in the class is like dominating the class because you know. So I'm excited for portals to come out for the racing circuit for sure.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Gosh, okay. So when I first met Dwight, when I first met you, I'm not going to even look at the camera at this point. When I first met you, dude, I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's a riot first and foremost. Like, I remember we had a few like exchanges through Instagram, and then you're like, yeah, like come through, like swing by at the shop, like just come hang out. And I was like, okay, like I'm not sure what we're going to do, but sure. And I pull up and I'm like, have already known Mountain Yotas just through some good acquaintances of ours, Carolyn Walkner.
Yeah.
And so, you know, having just followed you guys and some of your antics as well as just some of your sweet builds, it's like, okay, this is awesome. And I remember that one vehicle you guys were just finishing that you had bought and then just resold.
Yeah, 3rd gen 4Runner.
Yeah. That thing was beautiful. But I just remembered like grabbing a few photos, and then you were like freaking out. You're like, guys, look at this. Like, look at this photo Ben just took. And I'm like, cool. But like, you know, I think this coolest thing that I recognized about you was that like, you make people feel welcomed and you make people feel like they belong in your community, even though it's like, it can seem like it's so intimidating, especially for overlanding, wheeling, etc. Like, it's such a big space, right? Just because it can be as niche as like a Harley group, if you will. But like at the same time, it's like, hey, like wheeling can be as technical as you want, as recreational as you want, or just like weekend warrior kind of builds. And so, you know, me being super green around the ears, if you will, for wheeling and different things like that, it was super, reassuring that you could just be like, hey, just come through. Like, no big deal. If you don't know much, just come hang out. Like,
dude,
no big deal.
I'm grateful that you recognize that. I'm really proud that we have that kind of reputation here too, because, you know, we were all beginners. It's like, you know, being a fat guy going to a gym, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
If you have just a stock truck pulling up to a shop like Mountain Yotas, when you see the parking lot, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
these guys are hardcore. But really, we've all been, you know, green before. So like, and we also love this stuff so much. Everybody who works here, you know, we got 12 guys that are extremely passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And we want more people in our community, and we want all walks of life in our community, you know? And one of the things that I'm really proud about is some of the reviews that we get from women, especially because, you know, even our Instagram following, I looked last night and it's like 8.6% of our followers are women.
Heck yeah.
But the women that do come here, we've gotten reviews that they say, hey, you know, this is the place to go because they're so welcoming. And I'm most proud of that, I think.
Heck yeah.
Like, we treat everybody exactly the same because we want you to become that hardcore, you know,
enthusiast.
Toyota. Why not, man? Like, we need more people in the community, not only because, you know, the more the merrier kind of a vibe, but also it's good for business. So
it's good for business. It's something for people to rally around, and it gets people outdoors and actually like interact with each other. I mean, there's so many nuances of just the benefits of finding a community where you belong.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, I didn't, again, rephrasing again, didn't know a bunch of y'all, but seeing I walked in, I was like, okay, I'm good here. Like, you know,
one of the things I want to do to take that to another level is start long term, and I don't know where I can work this in or how I can work it in, but I've been thinking about it since I started like really getting into wheeling. I grew up riding dirt bikes, but you know, when I got into wheeling in vehicles, I'd like to take some inner city youth out wheeling because I think my buddy Andre, who, you know, he grew up in Chicago, you know, heavily influenced by gang activity growing up, and he knew he had to get out of it, moved to Aurora at 16 on his own with nothing else. And, we went out just to Golden, man. And he was like, I didn't even know this existed. And he was blown away just by what Colorado has to offer as far as like the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so we started kind of chatting about this, and I hope that I can circle back with Andre and somehow connect, you know, us to like more specifically inner city youth that may not have the opportunity or know how to get into something like this. So that's kind of
the awareness of it.
Exactly, man. I mean, it's so cool. So that's something I want to get into in the future.
Would you like want to roll with like middle schoolers, high schoolers, both, or just kind of like wherever the
I'm not sure.
lands?
I don't know. That's kind of as far as I've thought about it so far, but it's something on the bucket list that like I'd like to do as far as like a charitable thing goes. So.
Man, I totally get that. I totally believe that there's something about being a business owner and then knowing, hey, I need to give back in some way, and not because it's like a great write-off, but rather it's like just to almost like realign yourself every so often, just to be like, hey, this is good for me. Just like
totally.
Yeah.
Totally, man.
So like, how long has Mountain Yotas been in business?
We're creeping up on 2 years now.
Get out. For real? You guys have blown up in 2 years. That's silly.
Yeah, it's wild. People are usually shocked when they find out we're only 2 years old. But, you know, the fact is everybody who works here has been in the business for a long time. I am not from an automotive background. My background is in marketing. And so I had products of my own that I did digital marketing for, and just kind of always knew I didn't want to have a boss or a traditional job. I wanted to kind of follow my passions, and I just got lucky and kind of fell into, you know, owning Mountain Yotas. And,
interesting. Okay. Yeah. So then how the heck did you get into wheeling?
Really from my dad, man. We had dirt bikes growing up, and we would go off-roading on our dirt bikes all the time. So then when I was 16, I got a Land Rover Discovery as my first vehicle.
Casual.
No, the thing was trashed, you know, like, and then I didn't do it any favors from there.
Fair enough. I mean, use it appropriately. Workhorse.
Yeah. So I kind of treated it like it was a dirt bike. So I actually sank it within 3 months of owning it.
Holy.
And I'll never forget the look on my dad's face when a tow truck couldn't get to me where I was. And he walked up and started shaking his head like, how did you do this? Because you could only see the roof rack. It was fully submerged.
No way.
Yeah. And he bought it for me 3 months before that happened. And it was not a good day.
Yeah. What was the drive home like with that?
Well, I was in somebody else's Bronco who was pulling the Land Rover, and my dad paid him to tow us back to our house, and we started assessing the damage from there. So
fair enough. Was it recoverable, or was it just like tanked?
Well, the electrical systems were fried, but we pulled out the spark plugs and turned it over, and no water reached the block. There's a master reset on Land Rovers.
Yeah. Okay.
And the car was smarter than me because it sensed water coming in and it shut everything down.
Come on.
Yeah.
Crazy. Just like, okay. And you were how old at this time?
I was 16. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Were you like panicking?
Yeah, but my parents are really cool. So I knew like, and now if you talk to my dad about the story, he's just like, he laughs about it. So
that's awesome.
Now it's just kind of a good memory, and here we are. But my dad had a hot rod shop, and he was really into doing Porsche conversions in Southern California. They would drop like Chevy small block 350s that are bored out and put those into Porsche 911s, and they were building like drag cars and hot rods.
Dang.
So he would do like Model A builds and Porsche builds. And
yeah.
So it's kind of in the blood, man, and the dirt bike thing, kind of Motorhead stuff. And living in Colorado, all those things kind of converge into being passionate about the off-road industry here.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, love hearing stories like that where parents are willing to let kids not just make mistakes, but learn how to actually like take care of a mistake or clean up their mess, if you will, and like learn from that versus like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So awesome. Just a heads up, folks, we're going to dive into something a little deeper today. There's a reason I brought on Dwight, or asked Dwight rather, to come onto the podcast. It's a little heavier. And then there's going to be just things where it's like, hey, like on this podcast, it's full permission to just be yourself. So if you are not very confident about talking about addiction or different things like that, or even just foul language or whichever the case, might be a good time to sign off. Otherwise, just stay tuned. Anyways,
probably a good idea with me on here.
Yeah, just a little front loading. Like I meet people, on the road all the time. Anyways, but yeah, Dwight. So the biggest thing that I found so interesting beyond what you do, right? Because like obviously, it's really easy for people to get caught up in like their profession or in their skill sets and then make that their entire identity. And it's like, it's okay to be proud of those things, but when it becomes the whole person, it's like, like what happens if something goes, awry, if you will. But what I found so interesting was that you have this really specific mindset when it comes to overcoming being an alcoholic.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of people that I've met that have attempted to quit or maybe have fasted or, have quit, but maybe aren't the most encouraging about it to others, which I'm always like, man, like, why would you not want to take some triumph to it versus having like this shame mentality and all this other stuff? Like when I heard you talk about it briefly, I thought it was so interesting. I don't personally deal with, any drinking problems or anything like that. Like, man, I had last year, funny side note, I had clients give me a total of 41 bottles of alcohol. Yeah. And I'm not talking like, here's a 6-pack or whichever. Like we're talking like whiskey, absinthe, vodka, tequila, so on and so forth.
It's a good thing you don't have a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Like for me, like I don't drink by myself. And if I do, it's so freaking rare. Like if I'm drinking, it's always, in public with friends, and that's about it. Like, my bartender at home, like will always call me out if I'm like having a bad day. And he's like, yeah, you're good with just 2. And I'm like, thanks. Like, nothing crazy. I'm like, I'm glad we can at least talk and just know that beyond my drink limit, he'll also just be like, hey, like what's actually going on? Cause you don't usually order drink this stiff unless it's, something's bugging you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and so that helps me level the playing field of like, hey, like how much alcohol do I want to introduce to my life? Because I didn't, find any real gratitude outside of it or fulfillment from it to cope from. But yeah, like, could you, just kind of get us started with, how the, the addiction came to be, and then, just walk us through the process.
Yeah, man. I'm a party animal, and even when I'm dead sober, I like being the center of attention, and definitely an extrovert, like hardcore, definitely type A personality.
What? What?
So sitting just one-on-one with you, it's hard for me to be that guy. So, but trust me, like I'm pretty out there, and I got that alcohol bug, man. And I'm not really like your classic alcoholic. I've been sober 9 years, by the way. So
amazing.
It's probably a good thing specifically for business to mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Never wavered whatsoever. Not a sip, nor will I ever. And I'm 100% confident saying that I'll never have a sip of alcohol the rest of my life.
Come on.
But I wasn't like a daily drinker. So I was like a hardcore binge drinker.
Interesting. And so is that like a weekend thing or like?
Just flip a coin, man. Like it was whenever. So basically, it was always a gamble if I had one drink, if I was going to have 30 and then get behind the wheel. Holy. Or do something really stupid. Yeah. And, that was my problem, man. And it was years of that. I started DJing professionally 20 years ago, and I'm 36 now. So, and I got to travel the world playing music, and I got to DJ for the Obamas, and I got to, yeah.
Okay, casual flex.
Yeah, no, yeah. I had so many fun times, man. I got to DJ private parties for like LeBron James and Shaq and Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle.
Dang.
I played with Vanilla Ice.
What?
And, yeah, man. So I did some cool stuff, and I really took DJing seriously, like as an art form, and I, treat it like it's an instrument, not like you're press and play.
Yeah.
And in that lifestyle, especially when you're traveling a little bit and you are the life of the party and you're on stage, it can feed into those addiction problems pretty big time, especially when you know everybody on the scene, especially the bartenders, and you don't even have to pay a dime for any drinks.
Right.
So, that became part of my job almost. And even outside of there, on vacation with my wife, it's like take one drink and then it turns into way too many. And then who knows if you end up in jail in Mexico or, it's just stuff like that was happening all the time. And, it reached a point where it was like, I really was going to lose my wife and kids. I was going to lose my life probably too.
Dang.
And it was that bad. So I quit cold turkey, June 7th, 9 years ago, man, 2014. And, walked into an AA meeting and, never looked back, man. AA kind of is what initially saved me,
Okay.
I walked in and this big fat woman who was the kindest soul in the world just reached her arms out and she saw it in my face. I didn't even say anything. She knew exactly what was going on. And she told me, never forget how you feel right now. Because I was at rock bottom and she knew. And AA didn't resonate with me beyond more than like a few meetings, honestly. It wasn't for me. I think that AA is a fantastic organization, and the 12-step program, it's obviously saved millions of lives, but
yeah,
it didn't resonate with me fully because I didn't identify with the group of people that was there very well, specifically in like Arvada, Colorado, right? I've been to meetings other places where it does skew younger, but a lot of the people there, I was 27. And the average age was probably 55.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Drastic difference where you're like, I understand, but also there's a disconnect for me to actually like dive into this in a way.
Yeah. And I think the disconnect at AA, specifically in the Arvada meetings, was these guys were miserable, man. And I'm happy and positive. And the other big thing I got there was, though, these old timers that were in it, dude, some of these guys were just like, living on government funds. They're taking public transportation from one meeting to the next. And if something disrupts their day, they're falling off the wagon that day.
Wow.
Like they're going to 6 meetings. And if they miss a meeting, they're drinking.
Wow.
And like a lot of them were just miserable. But I will tell you, these guys, and it happened on several occasions, they would look at me and say, I'm glad you quit when you did. You could have been me. Right?
Holy smokes. Did that like wake you up a little bit?
It did. Yeah. That stuck with me. Not forgetting how I felt in that moment has stuck with me. And, dude, I am hard-headed. I am not, once I make my mind up on something, like I'm following through. And, we kind of talked briefly before this, before we started recording today. And like my mindset in sobriety has been, my mind's made up. Don't be a bitch. Like literally, like we've joked around about like, I should open up a rehab facility because so many people come to me that know me, that think that they might have a drinking problem too. And I'm like, listen, this is pretty simple. You just don't drink anymore. Like you're going to get through all the other stuff and it's going to be a pain in the ass. But if I opened up a rehab facility, it would be stop being a pussy.
Simple as
like
that.
literally like stop drinking. It's so simple at the core. You literally just don't let alcohol go in your mouth. And if you can break it down like that and just stop, you're going to find other things to do with your time. And that's not to say I had a, easy time doing it or anything like that. I felt like I kind of cruised through the first year, just white knuckling it. And, I found a really good pastor that I liked and I was going to church and, unfortunately for me, unfortunately for him, his church exploded. And then I kind of stopped going because I was going for the pastor. I found a great pastor that resonated with me.
Yeah.
He ended up having like 7 churches and I could never figure out where he's going to be.
Yeah,
and
you're
my
like,
home church was like tough, but that helped me a lot through the first year. In between years 1 and 2, I had the hardest time. And I always like kind of let people know who are starting their sobriety journey, like, it's going to get harder at some point, probably. You might go through some other shit in your life that's going to be a challenge to you, and you're not going to be able to turn to alcohol. You're going to have feelings come up that you don't know how to deal with without being drunk and numbing those feelings. And I had a hard time with anxiety in between years 1 and 2. And it wasn't for any particular reason. It was just that I was feeling things that I was used to not feeling because I was getting hammered all the time.
Right. Because you got numb to it in a way.
Yep. So I started meditating at that time and focusing more on my physical health too, which is directly related to your mental health. So even though I'm in like the worst shape I've been in my life because I slipped a disc in my back 1.5 years ago, I just started hitting the gym again 2 weeks ago. So I'm excited about that. But a big thing for me was gym too, gym, meditation. And yeah, man. So I think that kind of wraps all that up in a nutshell, but it's the best decision I ever made in my whole life was not drinking anymore.
Yeah. And then like, man, that's so crazy because there's so many opportunities for people to give in to just say, just this one time.
Yeah.
But I'm sure as you stack the coins, you're like, is this actually worth the cost?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming if it got so bad where you had to recognize for yourself that you're like, hey, I'm going to lose my wife, my kids, my life, and everything else that falls right underneath that. Like, that's not an easy thing to grasp.
Yeah.
Was there like a specific moment before you walked into the AA meeting that really spurred you to take action? Or was it just something that like you just kind of, just was inspired to do?
It's a lot of things that added up. If I had to point to one moment though, it was like literally my wife thinking she's going to leave me no matter what. And I made a promise to her. But looking back on that moment, it's more important to do it for yourself than anybody else, right? Because you have to be there for yourself before you can be there for somebody else. But
Absolutely.
She was going to leave me, and that's why I quit ultimately. I've been in love with her since the moment I saw her.
Gosh. And how long have you all been married? Together overall?
15 years, man.
Come on.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And we met in the party scene. She knew what she got into, but it got bad.
Wow.
I was a DJ at a bar and she was a cocktail waitress. We were 21 to 19. And dude. So she knew how I was obviously, but then, she kind of grew up and I didn't. I still haven't. I'm just sober now.
I mean, to a certain extent, a little give take, right?
Yep.
And that's so cool to hear because I really believe that like when you find a good spouse, they will pull you forward.
Yeah.
I've seen now hearing it from you. I've got another friend that I'll probably bring on another time, but I've seen it happen so many times where like guys are like, wreck. And then they're like, I love this person enough that I know that I need to change.
Yeah.
Like I have to be worthy of like stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think like younger generations where the marriage rate is decreasing and the divorce rate is increasing, it's alarming for like us as a society, in my opinion. I think if you want to be single and you're healthy and happy, I'm not going to judge you, but like for me, it's a really good thing. It's a good thing for the whole world that I'm married. That's how I feel.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Place to the mindset and, that's awesome. Okay. So then like, how did you get introduced to drinking?
Oh,
was it through just DJing or was it like something that like...
No, I remember vividly my sister's wedding. I think I was 14 was the first time like I drank. I got drunk at 14.
Holy.
Yeah. And, I'm from a German family that like, kids do have a beer here and there with the old school grandparents. Here, try this one,
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that story, which, is sad in a way, but that night I drove because my sister was drunk.
What?
She didn't think I was drunk because I'm 14.
Yeah.
I drove my parents' car home for my sister who was drunk with a bunch of stuff from the wedding. It was only, it was literally like 8 blocks. But still.
Yeah. I mean.
And I never got in any trouble. Like somehow, like I always skirted the whole time I drank. I never got in any trouble with the law whatsoever. So I was never forced to be sober.
Right.
Which I think the success rate is a lot higher if you choose to quit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was, that's kind of where it started. And I didn't, it's not like I started partying.
Yeah. But that was just
the
like
first time.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. And I liked it.
I mean, completely fair.
Way too much. So,
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that you said what you said of like, hey, like the success rate of choosing to be better is like overall higher. Because I remembered hearing from a different pastor that men don't suffer from wanting things. They actually suffer from not wanting things enough. And it feels so equivalent of like, hey, like you either want this or you don't, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because I mean, of all the things that you could want to do or could do, it becomes, you're good. What's up, Nico? You can totally jump in if you want.
Oh, yeah. Don't mind us, dude.
Here's my thing. For the podcast, I've like...
No,
put the
leave,
minds.
leave
I'm,
this.
I'm
leave
totally
this
leaving
in
it
'cause-
in.
Leave this in because I want to see my face when he opened the door.
I'm here for the wingman.
Oh no! What'd you get there?
New one.
Oh, dude,
So, hey,
I drank a whole ghost, so I'll take it. I'll take it later.
the delivery guy told me I was coming next Tuesday, so I just went to spend $150 on drinks and something. So we have more drinks.
Word. Thanks, dude.
Caffeine fiends.
You gonna set that thing up? Let's go.
Hell yeah. I love it. You're good, man. My whole thing when I started this podcast was like, I know I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be like meeting all kinds of people, whether it's like at businesses or in their homes or whatever the case, that like, it's not going to be perfect. And that's more than fine with me because it's freaking life, man. You know?
Yeah, and like, that's just what I figured because they're shooting podcast. I'm like, Ben? What?
You know.
Yeah, but, I always see that too when you watch a podcast. People
Yeah.
always jumping in.
Hell yeah.
Oh, shit, So,
I think we need Nick to come in here so you can see this freak of nature. Can you just come in here and just, like show him like a bicep or something? This is my best friend Nick. He's involved here at Mountain Yotas and Goat Shocks. Look at this guy.
Yeah,
He's a
Nick,
freak.
Why don't you tell us a little more about yourself?
Well, hold on. Before you talk, I'll do the intro because Nick's too humble to say stuff about himself.
Great.
Nick needs his own podcast because if you get Nick, get down here, Nick. If you get Nick on a campfire night or you get to just hang out like at an expo and he starts telling stories about himself, you get a glimpse of who he really is. But he's my best friend. And even though we met partying together, he's sober too. And
come on.
almost 2 years.
No way.
Almost
Come on.
2 years.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, Nick is a retired Marine, Purple Heart, has gone through more than just about anybody I know and is better for it now. And yeah, he's a fucking badass. So you need to do a whole episode on him on his own.
Great. What's your schedule like for the next 45 minutes?
You're good, man.
Great.
I appreciate that. Dude, like I said, best friend, dude. Dwight's one of the, almost look up to him almost as a mentor. Even though he's younger than me, I look up to him in some ways as he carries himself as a businessman, as a father, and just as a stand-up, just good person. And, he actually helped me a lot with my sobriety and then, especially going through a pretty brutal divorce. And, man, this guy's just always had my back. And I love that I get to come to work with him every day. It's pretty badass, So, every day's fun, and he's just, it's almost like a mirror of myself just because I'm such a wanting to make people laugh, outgoing, always having a good time. And like when I met him, like, oh my God, like, am I looking in a mirror but I have horrible tattoos now? Like,
Although he has body dysmorphia though, because he didn't even mention that he's chubby if he looks in the mirror and sees me. Because you don't end up
what's all this hair?
No, you don't end up looking.
Just kidding.
You don't end up looking like Nick unless you look in the mirror and see something totally different.
Oh. But yeah. So anyway, Dwight's the one that got me into this whole truck world, and dude, it's been awesome because I used to do something totally different. It was in sports nutrition, and when I had to get out of that due to my divorce, Dwight's like, hey man, come do this, and I really know nothing, and it's been probably one of the greatest changes of my life, and yeah, it's fun, and again, I fucking get to do it with him, and yeah, wow. so thankful. But no, I mean, listen, shit. Talk about somebody like, who's just so like passionate about, this industry. You know what I mean? That gets me fucking motivated. And yeah, man, like, it's awesome. Always learning every day. So
That's awesome.
I care about this off-road community. Like, thanks, Nick. But yeah, I do care about the community. I care about the overlanders out there, even if you're just using your truck to camp. But getting outdoors is important, and taking care of the outdoors is important. And building badass trucks that can act as tools while you're on the road is important to me too.
Hell yeah.
No, and then the other thing too that I really appreciate the way he goes about business is like straight up honesty, man. And that's what this industry was lacking in a lot of aspects, before I was even involved in any of this. There's definitely things you notice when you go to other shops and stuff, and you do feel like maybe I'm getting a little ripped off, or maybe I feel like, do I really need that? Like, or not even being really thankful. Hey, I just dropped $5,000 with you and you didn't even say thank you to me, And the way that this guy goes about it is just straight up, dude, he'll fucking stay on the phone with somebody for an hour and like, don't even like, expect anything, or like, are you going to come in or anything? He's like, fucking, hey, we're here if you want, Yeah. So I really appreciate that, and just really explaining to people about everything that they can do, and just, it's awesome. And it's pretty amazing the name that he's really built, and just the reputation already. It's been remarkable. So again, I'm very, very privileged to be a part of this. So thanks, Dwight.
Sure.
Oh, sure. It's just leg day, man. Come on.
Well, anyway, what were you guys talking about?
Yeah, so we were talking about the mindset of overcoming addiction in regards to alcoholism. I personally have met a lot of people who have bounced back and forth, or have always taken this really like, woe is me, shame kind of approach to it all. Yep. And when I heard Dwight talk about it the first time, it really resonated. I don't even struggle with alcohol. I was just telling Dwight, like, man, I got gifted 41 or 42 bottles last year from clients. Yeah. And like, I only drink when I'm with friends. Like, I don't drink by myself.
You want to see a funny test? Because this was mentioned. Nick, if I opened a rehab facility, what would the name of the facility be?
Oh my God. Hold on. Oh my gosh. You're putting me on the spot. Like, we came up with this.
Don't be
a pussy.
Just like that.
So, no, you know what? There is a lot of, here's the thing with it. I came to find out to getting sober. Bottom line, you have to want to do it. Yeah. You have to really want to make that change. Yeah. That's the only thing that's going to happen. I ended up, I self-medicated with, drugs and alcohol, mainly alcohol for 17 years. After, I was severely wounded in combat, I was forced out of the Marine Corps, medically retired. And man, that was just my way of doing it, because, coming back with, PTSD and all that, trauma from combat, the last thing you want to do is you want to get in front of someone where you feel like they can't relate to you whatsoever. And then, you're back to the civilian world, and you have a lot of civilian friends that you can't tell shit to, because they just don't understand, or you just don't want to bring that shit up. And then when it comes back, like forced, like Memorial Day, when it's forced into you, for me, it's always anniversaries of friends' deaths, or if I can remember just a day that was just so intense of, street fighting in Ramadi, Iraq back in 2004. Just always kind of turn to the bottle, and that was my way of dealing with it. And, man, when it almost took my life, when I remember getting so drunk that I was about to end my life, that's when I was like, okay, I need to finally get some real help for this. You know what I mean? Because the first thing I'm doing is like, what the hell am I doing? God didn't keep me alive, to take my own life. But then at the same time, I'm like, fuck, I got 2 kids. I got 2 daughters. They need a father. And then they need a fucking strong-minded father. Yeah. So that was my wake-up call. And, and I ended up going and admitting myself into a rehab down in South Texas called Warrior's Heart. And it's for guys like me who have suffered severe trauma in combat. And I went down there, and it was 45 days, and it was really intense. And It was very strict, and it was cool though because I was there with like 50 other guys from all all different branches, and
He got COVID while he was there
I
too.
did. It's so fake. They were like still bringing people in.
They like all had it was like during the worst shit of COVID too, and he's in Texas with COVID at a rehab.
But you know what? Hey,
That's just a cough.
yeah. No, but anyway, so so going through that, and what they got you to do is to really just unload and everything. And I came out of there like a totally changed man. And it was so crazy because they're all like, okay, well, you're going to have these triggers. Be careful walking in the alcohol aisle and everything. I knew when I walked out that door, I was done. And I got tested right away because I came home to a woman that was already planning on leaving me. You know what I mean? So going through a divorce where, everything's basically taken from me. My kids are taken from me, all this shit, going through just horrible shit. And oh my God, that year of my life, it was so brutal on just my mental well-being that I would rather go fight back in war than deal with that shit again. Wow. Straight up. And then the fact that I did not even think about drinking. And I was living in downtown Denver, surrounded by bars. I was just right next to a liquor store, just a couple, a block away. And not once.
It goes back to what we were talking about before Nick came in. Like if you want to, it's a lot easier than like, oh, I got a DUI and they're making me do this course. I don't think that shit sticks. No. But if you choose to drink because you actually experience rock bottom, which unfortunately a lot of times that's what it takes. Like I know so many people, like throughout 9 years of being sober, I know so many people that have come to me like, Dwight, help me. And it's like, I still don't know what to do other than be a good example and like show people that, hey, I still go to parties. I go to concerts. I have a blast all the time. Dude, right. Like I go out all the time. I'm around alcohol. I encourage people. If you don't have a problem with drinking, have fun. Do it. I don't care. It's great. If that's going to loosen you up and you're not an alcoholic and it's not going to impact your life negatively, I enjoy being around that. Go ahead. Yeah. I don't know what to tell people though, other than if you think you have a problem with it, it might take hitting rock bottom, but learning the hard way really sucks. So, a lot of people think I'm going to tell them something that's going to click or something. And I don't know if stuff does stick. I think some stuff stuck with Nick, but he hit a real rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And he's experienced other rock bottoms in his life too that were, dude, this guy was, how long were you in Walter Reed?
So it was Bethesda. Initially a month, just, bedridden. And then I was in a hospital bed another, 4 months, 5 months. Then I had a colostomy bag for 8 months. Yeah. Wheelchair for a year. It was just a lot of back and forth from there in California for surgeries. But what I was going to kind of add to what you were saying about hitting rock bottom, the way I look at it is, listen, everyone's going to go through hard shit in their life, right? Everyone's going to go through different experiences. It's all about how you learn from that. How do you adapt that to a positive later in your life? And that's the way I've always looked at it and been thankful to God through everything that I've been through, good and bad, right? Because you can take that for the positive. It's all about, either you're making mistakes or you're going through some hard shit. How can you apply that to better your life, right? And it's all about experience. And that's what I've always done. I've always gone through what I've gone through and how do I apply it to be better, be more thankful, be more humble, be more appreciative, or just noticing like later in life when you do come across another challenge, you're just like, shit, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing to, compared to what I've been through, right. So, I did that with alcohol. I did that with my divorce. I did that with combat. I did that with, being severely wounded, One thing that I never allowed myself to do, and I shouldn't say a lot, there were times where I did, but you got to eliminate self-pity. You cannot have fucking self-pity. It's basically like, do what's in your control, you know what I mean? And, after I got shot, what's going to happen to me? It's like, no, I'm going to get back. I don't give a fuck if they ever say, oh, you're going to get this nerve back. Or, I lost 10 feet of my intestines. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? All right, well, let's see what happens, are you going to run or walk again? You know, it's just like, I'm going to get back to how I was. You know what I mean? And it's all a mind state. And I looked at other guys that were wounded like I was, and they kind of fell in that hole.
Pity.
And they did. They look like shit, or unfortunately, they're not fucking here anymore, you know? And it's just like, I wanted to be an example, like, you can bounce back. You know, the human body, our brains are just, you know, it's insane, you know? And
you touched on like the foundation of sobriety there too, like recognizing what you can and can't control. I mean, it's the foundation of the prayer that you do at AA. It's the foundation, like the biggest thing you can learn from getting sober is recognizing what you can and can't control. And if you can't control it, why are you thinking about it? And that's kind of, it's like the root of anxiety.
Why you put that negativity in your brain? You know what I mean? It's just like,
it's
why worry about shit? It's done.
It's also the root of like success in business, I think. Like, what can you control? Can you do something about this or not?
Right.
And I think it's a good lesson to learn in life in general. But I think if you don't do that with sobriety, you're going to have a hard time. If you pizza when you're supposed to French fry, you're going to have a hard time. I totally botched that.
But anyway, the whole key to sobriety is like the success to so many things. Like he just said, business. Think about like getting in good shape, right? Like getting
what do you know about getting in good shape?
No, but you know what I mean? You have to want to do it. You know what I mean? You know what? You have to fucking want to do it.
Do you work out?
It just doesn't hardly right now, but man, you know, but
is this synthol?
Dude,
it's just synthol.
This is an extra small shirt. No, but you know,
I actually like this camera angle, dude. I look way bigger than you.
Yeah, I know.
Look at this. Oh, damn
Until you just
ruined.
right in the center.
But yeah, like you know, but I'll be honest with you, like getting alcohol eliminated, and I tell everybody this that I meet, and especially younger guys, I always tell them, dude, don't even fucking start. If I could go back, and you know, I never like saying if I could do this over, but really though, I would have loved to see what I really could have accomplished had I never put that fucking poison in my body. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just thinking of all the money, like I was telling him, we were going out to get Chipotle, and we went by, and we were in my old neighborhood, and there's this liquor store called Applejack's. And I'm like, Dwight, see that liquor store over there? Like, it's a huge store. Go see over there? And he's like, yeah. I go, you know what I used to spend there a month? Dude, fucking anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
I was thinking $500.
$500 to $1,000 every single month. Crazy. I'd be in there. Wow. And just thinking of that. So that's how I justify buying truck stuff now, you know.
For sure. A different addiction.
Well, now his truck is at a level of sponsorship that's
uncanny.
No, yeah.
Oh, you should put something up in this video. If you're watching the video, Nick's truck has become like the coolest second-gen Tundra on the road.
I was actually going to ask if I feel some B-roll if it's not stuff.
Dude, please do. Yeah. So this...
We'll talk price.
This truck...
Great.
This truck is insane. He's got Dirt King uppers and lowers. It's the OEM with performance control arms. He's got dirt box flatbed set up with a half box. He's got an FSR tent on there. It's got an art wrap from Pure Blind, which is really the star of the show. We did something really cool with the Sherpa rack because we put all of their adapt plates on the top. So you have like a front porch off of your roof or off of your rooftop tent. The whole entire roof rack is utilized as a front porch. So you can chill up there while you're camping. It's awesome. And we're going to change out the front bumper because right now it's like a true Baja style. And once we did the flatbed, it kind of is like, it's kind of a weird juxtaposition. Yeah. Like I want to do the CBI hybrid Baja bumper on there. It's a plate bumper that has like a full hoop on it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then he's got an insane
Falcon
amount.
Tires, the new, you know.
Dude, the Falcon Tire RT1s are baller. He just got those on there.
Kings 2.5 adjustables.
Yep.
For the suspension.
Adjustable 2.5 Kings.
Goat shocks coming soon.
Goat shocks are going to replace those Kings soon. Yeah, those are coming. It's going to be cool. We're going to have to loop back into some stuff about goat shocks when we officially launch for Expo Mountain West. But we're coming with some heat. It's going to be pretty special stuff. double internal bypasses with integrated bump stops, and we're doing some pretty trick stuff, glow in the dark coilovers, which it sounds gimmicky, but when
don't start drinking goat shocks.
New tagline.
New tagline. I like
Wow.
Hey, stay sober, buy goat.
Yeah. Or don't buy a goat.
it. Do or don't. Buy goat. Either way.
We gotta come up with a sober acronym for goat.
Yeah, the packaging's cool. There's like every abbreviation of GOAT that's related to off-roading is on there, and we may or may not have used ChatGPT to assist in that.
I mean, listen.
Who uses that? I was reading this thing last night actually, and it was talking about like companies that had 1 million followers and how long it took. And it had like, Netflix, like 3 years, had Facebook 10 months. They had, Instagram 2 months, Chat GPT 5 days.
Yeah.
Insane. Wow. Goat shocks, 2 hours.
Yeah. AI is crazy. We're doing a 3rd gen 4Runner build right now. You should get some B-roll of it. We basically got a wrap done on this 4Runner that I got, and the idea was to flip this thing for a profit, right? And we've done it with a 3rd gen 4Runner before and made someone really happy with it. This one in particular, though, is sitting there, and we used APA vinyl, and Pureblind, who does all of our wraps, they hadn't used it on a lot of vehicles. This particular color of APA failed for whatever reason. It wasn't an installation issue. It was like a manufacturing defect.
Oh, dang.
And so Nick Hughes, who owns Pureblind, was like, do you want to rewrap this thing? And I was like, yeah, but if we rewrap it, maybe we should rethink the whole thing. And we started talking about an art wrap. Ooh. And this relates to AI. I'll get to it. But then we started talking to Trail Gear and All Pro Off-Road if they wanted to do a sponsorship on a solid axle swap. They said yes. We said we should probably do a motor swap too. I said yes. And then 3-link rear. It's going to be absolutely insane. That's a opt off-road setup. It's going to be one of the coolest builds you'll see in person, but the star of it is going to be the art wrap, 100% generated by AI.
What?
Nick Hughes is a phenomenal artist. Like if you see any of my trucks, even from the past, that have art wraps on them,
I'll throw it up on there.
Yeah, I'll show you the before too of like the original wrap. I'll give you some content for it.
Great.
Nick Hughes draws these by hand, but he was one of the few artists that actually embraced AI as an art form.
Interesting.
Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm, fuck this. I can't let AI, he wasn't intimidated by it. He was like, I'm going to figure out how to utilize this."
Yeah.
And so he got really good at writing prompts.
Ooh.
And then all of his stuff that he does is large format.
Mm-hmm.
So he figured out how to use tools to scale up the art and make it big enough for large format printing. The resolution's high enough for large format printing.
Yeah.
And he's way ahead of the curve of other artists. So
come on.
So what we started talking about was, what do we want to do? And I said UFO runner. And so the whole entire theme of it is a crashed UFO.
Okay.
So it looks like all these like extraterrestrial components and technology in the art wrap. And then it also has like alien hieroglyphics. So it's like old school, new school alien.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah, right? What the heck?
And then because it's a solid axle swap, there's coilovers on all four corners. All of those will be glow in the dark with true UVs.
Yeah.
There's also going to be fog machines in all four wheel wells.
And it just...
And there's also going to be a light beam out of the middle beaming somebody up. And then all of the steel is going to be raw steel. It's going to be kind of beat up looking. Mm-hmm. So clear powder coat on everything. And then we'll have a Sherpa roof rack, of course, because every build we do has to have one.
Yep.
That's going to be raw too. And then we're going to throw the Talon size signature tent from FSR on the tent on the top. And that'll be at our booth at Expo Mountain West.
Great. And Mountain West is happening in
August 25th.
There you go.
In Loveland, Colorado. And you're going to see one of 3 or 4 Tacomas that's on portals there too. But this one will be the most built. This is a Tacoma that has like $150,000 on top of the cost of the truck.
Yeah.
Supercharged, portals, Super Pacific on it, wide body kit.
Oh my gosh.
38-inch RT1s. It's short of a trophy truck. I think that what you'll see is like the top level Tacoma in the country, at least.
Hands down. and I'm mad because I was driving behind him. And, you know, I'm on 37s in my Tundra, right? He's on 38s right now in his Tacoma. And I'm just like, fuck, I'm behind him. Like, how is this truck bigger than mine? And then on top of that, I'm like, fuck, he's going to be on Portal soon. He's going to be even higher. But what were you going to say?
I'll already outwheel your Tundra.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
But once I get Portals, it's game over.
Wait till we get the Tundra on Portals. We're just waiting.
You can't fit anymore on trails.
Anyway, that's true. But anyways, what I was going to touch on is when he came up with the whole, like, it's so funny. I get a text. It's like 1 a.m. and you just get, are you up? Yeah. Boom. Sends me a video. Watch this. Just got done with Nick Hughes for like 3 hours or whatever, you know, and I push play and it's just that fucking design. And I'm literally like, holy shit. And my girlfriend's like, what? And I'm like, oh, nothing. This is just badass. Like, you know, and I showed her and it's just like, wow, it is going to be something. It's cool because, you know, no one's done it, you know, and that's the one thing too, is like, we want to keep doing stuff that not everyone's doing. You know what I mean? We don't want to look like everyone else. We don't want to put out the same.
What about Exhibit, dude? X to the Z did this. X to the Z. I'm a pimp your forerunner. No, hey, but this UFO runner,
yeah.
If Joe Rogan doesn't share this when this build is done, it's got everything. It's Toyota. He loves Toyotas. It's AI. He loves AI. It's art. He loves art. It's aliens. His whole comedy mothership and everything, dude. Like this thing screams.
So what I'm hearing is it's a whole marketing strategy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Our goal this entire month, get Rogan to share this.
Yeah.
Dude, if Joe Rogan doesn't share the UFO runner, he's failing.
Yeah, right.
And this wasn't even calculated this way. It's already written in the stars, dude. Boom. This thing has Joe Rogan's name all over it.
And then drive it down to Texas, get some barbecue, go to the Comedy Lounge.
To Austin,
yep.
To the Comedy Mothership in the UFO.
Yeah, hey, thanks for stepping on Ben to say that when he had already started saying that, dude.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, dude, that's really nice.
You're really excited. Dude, it's all good. It's all good.
My hearing's little damaged.
Especially, you know, without a mic, like I think that's going to be really good for the pod, dude.
Oh, whatever. I'm not worried.
No, you're going to see me go like this.
That's amazing.
I knew I shouldn't have come in here.
Oh my God. Get out of here. Now I'm just forgetting. I'm like, should have got the ProSize recorder. Like, shoot, just grab an extra mic and I'll just have it set aside from whenever people are just coming through. Be like, hey, you want to say something? Just say it. What's on your mind? What's good today?
That might be kind of cool, actually. Just do it in the lobby at the shop.
Gosh, that'd be
just
amazing.
Random people, even just like customers that have never been
when
here
I roll
before.
through. So what are you in here for?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to see if I can fit 33s on a truck without a lift kit.
Be like, okay, you're going to have to talk to these guys.
Do you want to cut everything?
Yeah, right? Seriously. That's awesome. Well, sweet folks, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast, Nico, especially just the great entrance. It was almost like the Kool-Aid guy at this point. You know?
I should have.
You should have.
I should have barged in like that, you know.
You know, you basically did.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, but you know.
Gentle giant.
It was perfect.
I saw you guys complaining. I came in.
No, I'm happy about it, dude. It's
same.
really
it's part of the dynamic.
It's more fitting.
It was funny because I was out there. I'm like, hey, where's Dwight? He's like, oh, and they're like, oh, he's doing a podcast. Like, with who? Ben Liu? And they're like, yeah, short Asian guy. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, they don't want anybody in there. And I'm like, whatever. Poke it in, start recording. Come on in. All right.
Yeah, I literally was like, I'm like, where is Nico at? I'm like, I haven't seen him today. There we go. It was perfect. Well, sweet. Man, if y'all are in the Denver area or Colorado altogether, or you're just traveling through Colorado, come check out the guys at Mountain Yotas. They're doing sick stuff all the time. Dwight, is there anything else you want to leave for Mountain Yotas or Goat Shocks for that matter?
No, I just want to make sure you guys know we've got open doors. Even if you're just here to look at cool trucks and you're never even thinking about becoming a customer, feel free to stop by. It's like a truck show here all the time. And,
seriously.
Yeah, we're stoked about this stuff. And if you are too, man, we want to hang out. So come by anytime.
Also, Liquid Death, sponsor these guys.
Please, we buy so much Liquid Death and we just give it away to everybody.
Literally. I mean, I'm not guilty. I'd probably take one or two.
You know what you need to do? When you leave here, make sure you record our refrigerator. So we make sure
I'll pull out the macro lens.
We always make sure that our refrigerator is stocked for our customers. And there's like, we got energy drinks in there. We got tons of liquid death, and we don't charge. We don't do anything. It says free drinks on it. And yeah. So yeah.
I'll put you on the next art wrap too, and Joe Rogan will share it, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Just put Joe Rogan on the wrap.
Honestly, with the third eye.
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, honestly.
Put him in the driver's seat.
All righty, y'all. That's a wrap, and we'll catch you soon.